Welcome to the Everyday Gnostic Guide to Holistic Living. Thank you for joining us as we continue on this series of holistic living. Today, we will go over the 3 steps we all need to take to reach self-improvement. So here are the 3 steps we will study today. The first one, learning how to listen. Second, managing negative emotions. And the third one, changing the way we think. First, we will discuss learning how to listen. I will pose the following question and let you answer it yourself. Do you know what real listening feels like? Do you really listen when someone is talking? Do you consider yourself a good listener? In the world, there are many wonderful speakers that amaze the masses with their speeches and eloquence. However, few are those who know how to truly listen to them. When a speaker is giving his or her speech, the audience seems to be alert and following every single one of their words. Little do they know that deep in their psychological state, in each one of the audience members, there is a secretary. Yes, a secretary who is translating the words of the speaker. The role of the secretary is to misinterpret or misconstrue the words of the lecturer. That secretary lives in our mind and translates everything it hears, according, of course, to its prejudices, preconceptions, biases, prejudgments, fears, pride, anxieties, etc. Only when we are in a state of truthful mindfulness and think with a spontaneous mind, when we remove the weight of the past and keep ourselves in a state of complete receptiveness, only then we can really listen without the interference of that bad secretary, also known as the ego. Our second step is learning how to manage negative emotions. Let's discuss what we understand by negative emotions. Let me explain that for the most part, we are mainly manipulated by negative emotions. Those emotions are what we commonly know as the 7 deadly sins and its multiple manifestations. But when we consciously choose not to identify ourselves with our surroundings and become emotional participants of our daily problems and sorrows of our life, it is then when we begin to take control of our emotions. I would be lying if I said this task was an easy one. It is very hard and sometimes almost impossible to remove ourselves from all attachments from our daily life. Normally, we let our negative emotions take the steering wheel, and instead of reacting to any outside interference in a composed and peaceful manner, we get furious, irritated, and let our negative emotions take control of our body and our mind. We need to reflect a little and remind ourselves that all these inconveniences and hardships of life always become, in time, a passing memory. The third step is changing the way we think. Through our Gnostic teachings, we can provide you with all the knowledge needed to awaken your consciousness. But if you do not change the way you're thinking, what is the use of obtaining all this intellectual knowledge? In our Gnostic teachings, you will hear repeatedly that it is necessary and imminent to dissolve the ego, and that we need to sacrifice ourselves for humankind. But if we continue thinking the way we are thinking right now, the way we have been thinking, if we continue with the same mental habits as before, like prejudgment, perfectionism, regret, substance dependency, anxiety, etc., then we will not be able to evolve spiritually. We must dissolve the ego. Otherwise, we will never be able to achieve the slightest amount of conscious awakenings. We are always going to live in a daze. We are always going to be behind the locked doors of our own ignorance. Sadly enough, too many are those who are not even aware that this world, as amazing as it might seem to some, it is truly a jail to our conscience and our soul. So, how are we going to change our way of thinking? Did you know that the mind many times has been compared to a donkey simply because donkeys are stubborn? And that is truly how our mind is stubborn, set in its ways. Well, we need to start by eliminating all negative emotions from us because those negative emotions hinder in a deep our change. With that, we conclude today's message wishing you all a wonderful and abundant life.